Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm the Threat of Joy and today I am building in The Sims 4. This is a 30 by 20 lot in Newcrest. I think it's the Beach Byway lot. I kind of went in with a little bit of a plan. I had an inspo picture that I kind of based this off of the front, but everything else I kind of just, winged and went with. This ends up being a 2-bedroom home with a primary bedroom and then kind of like a smaller one that I kind of imagined would be a children's bedroom. And it ends up with 2 bathrooms, I believe, 1 full, 1 half. Then obviously there's a kitchen, dining room, living room. I also included an office nook. I was going to originally have it be its own room, but it kind of ended up being a space between one of the bathrooms and the primary bedroom. But yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out the porch situation. I had this grand idea to make almost like a brick porch, but it did not end up the way I wanted it to look, and I ended up scrapping it, and you'll see that later on in the video, that it's just gone and completely different, and it looks a lot better when I take it out. Sometimes I can get the half walls to look the way that I want them to, but today was not one of those days, unfortunately. Right now I'm kind of laying out how I want the house to look. So that front room ends up being the children's bedroom, and then the one in the back I kind of expand later on and it becomes the primary bedroom. And then I kind of delete that room that's kind of in between the two. Not the small one, that's the bathroom, but the one that's a little bit bigger. I kind of just take out those walls and make that become a nook. Then across from those rooms, I kind of lay out where I'm wanting the dining room and the kitchen. Those end up changing a little bit as well. I kind of divide them a little bit more, but that's kind of the general area. I added this back porch because I always like having those in the game, just because my Sims do like to be outside, or they sometimes do. But I don't know. I always like adding those to my houses because it makes it a little bit more realistic, and I just like having them because it makes it look a little bit better. There's that front porch I was talking about earlier, completely changed, and it looks a lot better in my opinion. I went with a dark wood because I just like the look of it, and it's a lot easier to match because, as anyone who plays and builds in The Sims 4 knows, the swatches, they're all just slightly different, just slightly, and that's kind of annoying. And I find that that dark brown wood is very easy to match, or kind of match. They're all just slightly different, which is kind of annoying, but this one at least is somewhat easy to match, and that's why I went with it. And I thought it looked good with the light blue I went with for the siding. Here I am adding in the back porch and the steps for it. I always like adding the porch because I like having, a grill or somewhere for my Sims to go hang out instead of just being inside all day, because some of them go insane if you do that, depending on their traits. But I added this back porch, and then here's me struggling to copy the steps and the railing because I play on a MacBook, and trying to do anything on a MacBook is difficult, let alone playing The Sims. If you play The Sims on a MacBook, you probably understand my pain a little too well. It works, but it also doesn't work. But here I am. I added some flowers to the front to give it a little bit more of, some interest and just make it a little bit more realistic. I expanded the porch just a little bit just so I could add a chess table later on and just, widen it a little bit because it looked a little odd. Added some lights as well just to, make it more realistic and look better. I went in and added a half wall in the living room just because I just wanted something to divide the front door and the living room because it just kind of feels weird when it's an open space. I also went in and added those tiny lights around the house just so you guys can see kind of what I'm doing. If I didn't, this would be a very hard to see video and not very enjoyable in my opinion. So I went and did that. Right now I am editing the the full bath, adding just the simple tub, sink, toilet, just a very plain white bathroom. I added some accessories too because I always like to make my houses look a little bit more lived in and somewhat realistic. I don't want it to be too cluttered because it just kind of looks a little funky in my opinion. But went in, added a little trash can, added the bathrobe, the soap, things like that to the bathroom just so it just felt a bit more real. Added this little rug too. Just wanted to, furnish it, make it feel like a bathroom. Not the most exciting part of the build, but it's at least something. I like to start with the bathroom just to kind of wean into things and kind of figure out the vibe I'm wanting inside the house, and just, the wealth level we're kind of working with. Just kind of wanted a, standard kind of house. This is kind of a starter home, kind of not. It ends up being, I think, 50,000 simoleons around there at the end. So not quite starter home in terms of simoleon amount, but, or price. That probably is a better word. But it looks nice. And if you want to use cheats and add it to a lot, just use free real estate or motherlode, be my guest. You can find this house on the gallery. My username is thethreatofjoy. If you feel like downloading this, or if you want to add it to your Newcrest neighborhood, town, I'm blanking on what they're called. But yeah, right now I'm working on the primary bedroom. Wanted something kind of simple. You can't do too much with the base game, but I try to make it as like cohesive and like homey as I could. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I always struggle figuring out what lamps to use on like my nightstand tables. None of them ever really feel the way I want them to or look the way I want them to, and that always drives me a little bit insane, but it's okay. I went with the ones I did, and I think they look all right. Same thing with the wall art. I'm always like, this one will be okay, but then I like put it up, and then I like stare at it for like a little bit too long and get just psyched out, and I'm like, man, maybe it looks like crap, but maybe it's okay, and then I end up just keeping it, or I try out like 30 different paintings and then end up with the same one again. But I'm sure you guys can relate, or if you can't, maybe it's just me. We'll see. Anyway, right now I am going in and trying to put some decorations up on the dresser. I added a few like perfume bottles, cologne, nail polish, just to kind of make it seem like a couple lived here. And that's their stuff that they get ready with in the morning. Like I said, I try to make it seem somewhat realistic, but like, again, it's The Sims 4, so you can't really do a whole ton necessarily, especially if you don't use mods or anything. Just use like the base game or just the packs. Even it's kind of hard to make things super realistic, but I try my best, and I try to make my builds look pretty good. I went in and added some photos too, because I felt like that kind of makes it a little bit more homey as well, a little plant. But yeah, I then went in and placed that tissue box I had lying there just on the nightstand, because I just wanted something over there decoration wise, because it was kind of just boring, and I felt like adding it. Then I go in and add a fan, because it's always nice to have a fan in the bedroom, and I think it kind of fits the vibe and color scheme very well. Then I add this rug. The rug isn't the exact color I want, but I only have so many options if I'm using the base game, but I think it looks alright and kind of ties the room together. I add these paintings. I thought I got rid of them later in the build. I guess we'll see. I don't quite remember. It's been a second since I recorded this, but I added those in. I also added a guitar, because might as well add a skill building item, and it's just very easy to place in there. The guitar is a very easy skill to have your Sims learn too, so gameplay wise, not a bad choice. I then went over and started building the half bath. I used the same exact toilet and sink, mirror, towel, everything from the first bathroom. Nothing too exciting going on over here. Just kind of placing the same decorations and everything. Just a very simple half bath. I then moved over to the kitchen area. I had originally had it as a open kind of space kitchen with a dining room and kitchen in the same space, but I felt like it was like too open and didn't kind of fit the look I was wanting, so I added that door frame there in the wall. For the counters, I kind of went in with this like light blue base game set originally, but I think I ended up going in with something a little bit darker later on, but I can't remember exactly which like color selection I go with. And then I chose the white appliances just because I didn't want it to be too expensive. I was already pushing it with what I had, but didn't want to send it over the edge by putting in those real nice silver ones. You guys know what I'm talking about, but just those from the Get Base game. I added this little bar too. It kind of like clips with one of the counters, but that's how it fit in the kitchen. So that's how I ended up doing it. I had this little trash can too, and then the fire alarm, just because you need it for gameplay. You don't want to burn your house down. I kind of was like trying to figure out how to decorate this kitchen, just because there wasn't like a whole ton of wall space, and I didn't want to put like a giant painting in the back, because I feel like that's not how your kitchen would be decorated. But I went in and put like knives and things like that, and then I think I put like the paper towel roll, and then like the utensils next to the stove. Then I went in with this like little painting or drawing, whatever, on that wall, just to put something, because it was just a little boring without anything over there. Then I just like placed these with the move objects cheat, just to place it. There I am struggling because it kept going back to the counters and like going back to it, and it was driving me nuts, but I finally got it to go. I then go in and add that little rug by the sink, just because I feel like that's pretty realistic to have like a little rug right there, just to make sure no water gets on the floor, because that gets nasty when it's in the kitchen. I then go in and start working on the dining room and realize I made it a little bit too small for like that type of table, so I expand it just a little bit and then center it. Then I end up deleting the floor like 90 times, because that's just how that works. I add these little overhanging, the hanging lights above the bar and the kitchen, because that's kind of, I don't know, I thought that looked cute and was realistic. Then I have a hard time picking what chair I want. This is another thing I always spend like way too long on, is picking the chairs for the tables. Some of them have the set, and then other ones, like, I feel like the set that it comes with just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't look right. But I ended up picking these. I think they match pretty well. And then this is the rug I went with, kind of similar to the one in the bedroom. I think it might be the same one, honestly. And then I go ahead and furnish the walls. Again, you're going to see me change these eventually as well. I think I get rid of those back two paintings and put a window there eventually, which I think ends up looking a lot better. But kind of just decorating this room now, just so it has something. It'd be very sparse if there was nothing. I then go in and replace those two paintings on the wall, because I think it looks funky after I look at it for too long, like I said earlier that I always do. And then I place this really expensive painting, and it eventually gets deleted, but it's there for the time being. I'm kind of glad I got rid of it, because that upped the price of the lot quite a bit. Then I add these little lights just so there's some in there, and I think that turns out pretty well. I then go in and add basically like a clutter table. This is where I imagine the Sims would be like putting down their phone or their keys, wallet, anything you'd be bringing to like work or school, maybe even like a backpack or something. This is where I always throw things at my house, like just on like one of our tables or counters. And I thought this would be something that would be useful for the Sims and kind of make it feel a bit more homey. I then started working on the little desk nook area. I added the computer that isn't the highest end one, but also not the crappiest one, just because the crappy one always breaks, at least when I'm playing, like all the time, and it's annoying to fix constantly. So chose this one. It's expensive, but I feel like it's worth it in terms of gameplay, and it just looks better because it's not like a little box computer. But added some accessories too. I added like the books and like different CDs. I think I added like little like pen holder cup thing, that. Then I added like the little board where they could keep track of like, I don't know, like photos, tickets, different calendars, whatever they're keeping track of. I finally make my way over to kind of the entrance and then living room. I added like that coat rack and the shoe rack, just because, I mean, it would be there in an actual house, so I added them there. I went in with these couches because I thought they looked nice and kind of fit the vibe of the home. I think about changing the color of them, but ended up staying with like that kind of like tan creamish color. But I think they turned out pretty nicely. Curtains are another thing I always struggle with picking, because some of them are either like they're too modern or too like colonial looking, or like just way too fancy. Like I feel like these are even a little fancy for this room and a little bit like dated, but you can only choose from what they have, especially if you only have the base game. There's like hardly any curtain options. I wish they would add a few, like in the packs and things like that. There are a few to pick from, but even then, it's like I feel like there aren't like a whole ton. Same with the rug. Like that rug is kind of, now that I'm looking at it, I probably would have picked something different if I was building this today. But things change. But I don't think it looks too bad. I end up adding this lamp and then some wall art as well. And then I always like adding this little basket just because, I don't know, I always feel like people have that little basket in their living room to hold like blankets or like toys or something, depending on like who lives there. Like I said, I end up building that second bedroom to be like a child's room. So I kind of imagine that was like the little kids' toys or something. I also added the little gaming station system thing that came with the new event that just went on. It should be available for everybody if you did it. But I added that there to the living room and then some paintings just to kind of finish it out. Now I'm building the child's room. I think I end up going with like kind of like a blue color scheme for this one. And they kind of like space or like that type of stuff. Like a little bit more of a sciencey kid, artsy kid. Just kind of very creative and playful. I don't know. I always like building the children's rooms. They're a bit more, they can have a bit more personality than I feel like the adults do. Just because that's kind of how it is in reality too. I end up adding a few skill building things as well. Like I add like the little science table where they can do like experiments and things. And then I add the little art table too where they can do crafts and kind of build that skill. I also added the toy box because, I don't know, depending on what your aspiration is for the kid, you can do just about anything in this room, whether it be the creativity one or just like the communication one or the science logic type one. They can do just about anything in this room. But yeah, now I'm just adding in little posters and things to make it a little bit more interesting. Add the clothing pile too because I feel like, I don't know, a kid always has like clothing on the floor. They have like their laundry done from like their parents. They're like, oh, you need to put your laundry away. So I put a little basket in there too and just kind of finished out the room in terms of decorations. I then went in and added the flooring. I went with like this kind of like dark brown, kind of the same color as I've had throughout the house. I went with that color. Then I kind of went in and added all of the colors to the room or wallpapers. Just kind of tying them all together and completing them. This is another thing I feel like I take too much time on, is picking the like colors for the wallpaper and everything, but didn't take too long on this day, so that was nice. That was a win for me. Right now I'm building out the back deck. I added a grill and then trash cans. I then realized I have no windows on the one side of the house and added one into the dining room and then one into the living room, and I feel like that kind of balances things out a little bit more and makes it a little bit more interesting. Finish out the back deck too. I expanded a little bit more and add just like a little table for my Sims to sit at. I end up choosing this table and chairs. I always think this looks good. I use it in a ton of my builds. I end up changing the color too because I do that every single time. Then I move these trash cans over here just because I feel like that's where they'd actually be. Then I decide to add these little like flower type thing. I also ended up moving the lot over just a little bit just because I wanted to add a fence and it was like too close to, it wasn't fitting right. I then go in and start messing with the fence. I originally placed it up a little bit too high on the lot and moved it down a little bit. I think where I ended up putting it is just a little bit better and like fits the lot a lot better than what I had originally. I added this gate too just because, I don't know, it's easier for gameplay too. I then go in and add these little planter boxes just because every time I play The Sims, I am always gardening. I also replaced the fence because I thought it looked funky, but I think it ends up looking the same exact way it did, so didn't really do too much there. I added this fire pit too. I think they recently added this to the base game, which is kind of cool. Just something more that we can add to the backyard or just outdoors in general because there isn't like a whole ton of stuff. I also added these trees just to kind of fill out the yard a little bit more. Add some like plants too to make it seem like a little bit more realistic and just look a little nicer. I always take so long to pick like what flowers I'm wanting to go under the trees or just in general for landscaping. I feel like I take forever, which like I feel like isn't too uncommon of a thing. I went and added this like gravel stuff too, because I feel like in a lot of backyards that's like something that you would have. And like in my at my house, I have like gravel instead of like a paved like patio out back, and I feel like that's kind of a similar vibe to what was back there. I then go in and landscape the front. This took me a second, not gonna lie. I didn't know what flowers I was wanting to use, but I ended up going with these and then putting these like taller ones in the back. I'm not the best at landscaping. I've been getting better, but I feel like this is a pretty good attempt. It does take forever though. I don't know how people speed through landscaping so fast in some of the videos I watch, but kudos to them, because I could not do that. I take forever, and I'm always indecisive, and I don't know what flowers to pick, what colors to pick, what looks best, all that type of stuff. But I think I did pretty good here for not really knowing what I'm wanting or what I'm doing in terms of landscaping. But this is the front. I end up with these like kind of yellow and orange vibe. Then go in and shrink these rocks just so there's like a little bit of a lining. I know a lot of people don't actually use like the rocks. They use like a lot of debug stuff. I didn't end up using debug at all for this build, but I don't know. I think it looks pretty good, even if it kind of looks a little funky in some areas. But I think the rocks kind of made it look a little more realistic and something that would actually be in somebody's yard. I think it turned out all right though, just in terms of a first attempt at landscaping. I also decided to line like the little walkway in the front with the rocks too, just because I think it looks a little better and isn't look as unfinished. It's like the gravel looks like fine if it didn't have them, but I feel like this makes it look just a little bit more, real and just something that would actually be going on. I think I add the mailbox right here too, or I should at least. And then I go in with the little terrain tool again and add the dirt just to make it seem more lived in. I added this bike too. That was also part of an event drop, or no, part of an event, and you could earn it. I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but I got that too. I also decided to add this car in there. I just sized up one of the car decorations that's in the game. It's nothing like mods or anything like that. It's literally just like a sized up toy. But that kind of wraps up the build, so I'm gonna go through and show you the house now. Alright, so this is the completed build. Here's the outside. There's a little doormat. I put flowers up here, the bike. There's a little chess table too, so you can level up your logic skill. Here are the flowers I was talking about just a second ago. I think that turned out pretty well. Got the truck over here too, the mailbox. Go from the top view real quick. Then here's the backyard. Exactly what I showed you just a little bit ago. You got the little table, flowers, grill, all that type of stuff. The bonfire, or the fire pit. All the gardening tools you'll need to if you want to do that. If we go inside here, going through the front door, you'll see the little walkway, the entryway. Oh, my mouse is being funky. There we go. The entryway over here, and then you get the living room, little couches and stuff, TV, little gaming console. Pretty simple, but you can definitely play in here and be perfectly fine. Then you move over, you got the little nook. It's got like the books and things and just like a little clutter. Kind of where I imagine they'd throw their keys and things. Another nook. This is where the desk is, the computer, kind of where everyone can kind of just use. Then you get the little bathroom, and then the children's room over here. I really liked how this turned out. I thought this was kind of just cute and playful. I think it turned out pretty good. And then we make our way over here, and you got the primary bedroom. I think this turned out pretty well. A little brown, a little muted, but I don't think it turned out too bad. I did end up changing the wall art over here and putting in like a laundry basket. I just thought that kind of looked a little bit better and fit the room a little bit better than what I had previously. Then the bathroom, the same as I was showing before. Pretty simple, pretty easy to use and everything. Then we've got the dining room over here. Again, I swapped out that painting for the window. I think it kind of fits the room a lot better and brings in a little bit more light too. Got the dining table with some flowers and everything. Just kind of an open space. Then you go over here and you get the kitchen. I use the base game counters and shelves. I think it turned out pretty well though. So if you're interested in downloading this lot, my username on the gallery is thethreatofjoy. It should be under Beach Byway as the name. You can find it on my profile. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!